Hello YouTube, and welcome back to my YouTube channel and my wrestling fantasy booking or rebooking videos. And today we are going to be tackling the Imposter Kane storyline. Now, I love the idea of this storyline of Kane and my personal favorite era of Kane, the 2003 to 2006 era Kane, going up against what's basically the original Kane. That is such an amazing idea. And the story that they had going into it, some say the May 19th stuff was ridiculous, over the top, but when you really go back and watch the shows, the May 19th stuff actually got over really well, and it seemed to be really good, actually, when you go back and watch it. But unfortunately, after May 19th passed, WWE just kind of speed ran through everything. Had Luke Gallows, who played the Imposter Kane, who was not ready, who was not TV ready, make his debut on Raw, give him a flipping crap wig and make him look like total piss, and totally ruin the storyline. I mean, you only get one chance to make a first impression, and unfortunately WWE did Gallows no favors as the fake Kane in making a good first impression, because daggum, he looked like flipping roadkill in that daggum ring. Holy flipping crap. He looked awesome at Vengeance and on the Raw after Vengeance, but holy flipping crap, that first night he looked terrible, and I mean terrible. So in today's video, ultimately we're going to be doing how WWE should have booked the Imposter Kane / May 19th storyline. So first things first, I would keep a lot of the early story the same. However, I would not let us, the audience, hear the voices. I would just have Kane begin mumbling the date, May 19th, May 19th, May 19th, and it drives Kane into a frenzy. And then whenever someone else says it, like Big Show, he attacks them, or the flippin' Spirit Squad, he attacks them, and Kane, for weeks leading up to May 19th, destroys everybody. And then on the May 19th episode, or actually the Raw before the May 19th episode of SmackDown, Kane comes clean. He admits that May 19th is the day when his parents and family were killed in a fire, and his life was changed forever. And Kane almost gives a hint of something else that he wants to say about the date, but almost a look of fear crosses Kane's face, and he shuts his mouth. So Kane still has that awesome segment on the May 19th SmackDown with Rey Mysterio and JBL, where he beats the piss out of both of them. And then on the Raw after the May 19th SmackDown, everything seems to be normal. It seems to be normal. Kane competes in a number one contenders battle royal for Shelton Benjamin's Intercontinental title. Kane wins the battle royal, but then all of a sudden you get on the Titantron the original Kane mask appearing, and you have on the Titantron it's saying, "You thought May 19th was the end, but it was only the beginning." And Kane is like, "What?" And Kane has that look of fear again on his face, like he knows what's happening, but he is, and he's terrified of what is happening. And these mind games with the lights going out, the lights turning red, fire appearing out of nowhere, it terrifies Kane. And on the final Raw before Vengeance, we see Kane's parents' graves on fire, and Kane is filled with rage and fear at the same time, and you can see that rage and fear in Kane's eyes. And Jim Ross says on commentary, saying like, what is happening? What is going on? So we get to Vengeance. Kane and Shelton would be your co-main event on the night. They would have a pretty good match. I mean, Shelton at this time could have a good match with a flippin' broom. It's a good match. Kane catches Shelton with a choke slam. It looks like Kane's going to win the Intercontinental Championship, but then the lights go out again. And you hear the voices. You hear it saying, you'll never forget. But then one voice is thrown in at the end. He's coming. And then all of a sudden the lights go out, and we hear the original Kane music playing. And all of a sudden we see Paul Bearer stand out at the top of the ramp, and then boom, out comes the imposter Kane, played by Luke Gallows, looking the same way he did at Vengeance 06, looking menacing, looking terrifying. And since he's had more time to get the Kane mannerisms down, he does the Kane mannerisms pretty daggone well. And his first impression would be amazing rather than total crap like it was in real life. And the imposter would get in the ring, and Kane would have this look of fear. He can't believe it. His father, Paul Bearer, is on the outside of the ring. This man that's just as big as him, if not bigger, is dressed up like the way he used to dress. And Kane, he can't believe it. But before Kane can do anything, he is choke slammed and tombstone pile driven in the middle of the ring as the imposter Kane leaves, with just dead silence of the crowd being like, what did we just see? Very similar to Kane's own debut, with Paul Bearer yelling, yes, oh yes, oh yes. So the next night on Monday Night Raw, similar to Kane's very first Raw appearance, the imposter Kane interrupts a match, interrupts a tag team match, and beats the piss out of everyone, leaves them all laying, chokeslam, tombstones, throwing people out of the ring, doing all that good stuff. And then Paul Bearer cuts a promo, and Paul Bearer reveals the identity. Paul Bearer says that Kane didn't tell you people the full story. There was someone else in that house. There was someone else that suffered because of that fire. Kane had a twin brother, and his name is Lucifer. He had a twin brother, his name is Lucifer, and he too was in that fire that night. And in that fire, Kane, instead of trying to save his twin's life, what does he do? He runs out of the house to leave his twin to burn up and to die all by himself. And Paul Bearer reveals that he himself ran into the house and save the twin. And for years he has been locked up even longer than Kane. And every trauma that Kane claimed to have, his twin brother Lucifer actually truly had. That Kane is a liar. That Kane hides behind fake guilt for his actions. And he says the reason that he fears his twin brother is because he knows his twin is the one that's truly a product of the fires of hell in human form. And ultimately, for weeks, Paul Bear with Lucifer, week after week, would interrupt match after match on Raw and SmackDown, demanding Kane to show up and to face Lucifer at SummerSlam. Eventually, on the go-home Raw before SummerSlam, Lucifer goes to attack Jim Ross, and Kane finally appears up on the rampway, and Kane says, "Enough. Enough. Everything you said is true. Except for one thing. You say I'm not a product of the fire. You say I'm not a monster. Well, at SummerSlam, we'll find out who the true monster is." Kane says that he will face his fear, and he will face his twin and send him to hell where he belongs. So at SummerSlam, it is Lucifer versus Kane, brother against brother. Lucifer, who resembles everything that we were originally told about Kane, while Kane, the true Kane, the real Kane, is the one who stands as someone that, yes, is a monster, but for the first time faces a monster more warped and evil than himself. And the two have a match, and Kane is squashed by his brother. Lucifer destroys Kane, beats him to a bloody pulp, choke slams, tombstones, 1, 2, 3. It's over. The imposter Kane wins, Lucifer wins, and at the end of the match, Kane is rolled into a casket, and similar to what Kane and Paul Bear did to The Undertaker at the 1998 Royal Rumble, they take the casket to the top of the ramp, they pour gasoline, and they set it on fire. The casket burns and withers away, with Kane inside, with Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler just screaming on commentary at the horror that they have just seen. So, following this, Kane, as you would expect, disappears for months on end, while Lucifer's rampage would continue, with him interrupting matches, with him beating down on superstars. He enters many feuds and has many matches that he wins all of, by the way, against the likes of, Rey Mysterio on SmackDown, or, maybe a mini feud with Booker T, or a mini feud with Mick Foley and, Ric Flair, like just a bunch of mini feuds, claiming victims left and right, destroying everyone, and Paul Bear, making it clear that there is no one that can stop Lucifer. However, there is one victim that Lucifer still wants to get his hands on. He dealt with Kane, the one who abandoned him in the fire, but what about the one who caused the fire? The Undertaker. So on an episode of SmackDown, in a number one contenders match heading into the Royal Rumble event, Lucifer appears and destroys The Undertaker, leaving him a bloody mess, costing him the match. And Paul Bearer begins demanding a match between Lucifer and The Undertaker at the Royal Rumble, and demands that The Undertaker put his career on the line in this match. And The Undertaker would accept the stipulation under one condition: if it is no holds barred. And Undertaker reveals the reason why he even started the fire to begin with. It was not to hurt Kane or to hurt his parents, but rather it was to destroy the evil that was behind that mask in Lucifer. And Undertaker admits that he thought he had destroyed that evil once and for all, but clearly he was wrong. And Undertaker says it's up to him to destroy the evil at the Royal Rumble. So the rest of the build is, a bunch of pyro, a bunch of mind games, but every time things get physical, Lucifer always stands over the Phenom, and it really seems like Taker could potentially lose this match. So we get to the Royal Rumble. Undertaker and Lucifer have their match. It's back and forth. It's epic. It's the first time a match has truly been taken to Lucifer. And during the match, Lucifer tombstones Undertaker on the steel steps, puts him back into the ring. He looks to finish him off, but then boom, fire erupts, and out from under the ring, from the mat, comes Kane. Kane has returned, and he attacks Lucifer. He beats him down, and he choke slams him time after time after time in the middle of the ring. And ultimately the Undertaker gets up. They do a double choke slam to Lucifer, and then a tombstone by Undertaker. 1, 2, 3. Lucifer has lost his first match. And this perfectly ties in to the final chapter of the story, Kane versus Lucifer at WrestleMania 23. And the story is simple. Kane is no longer afraid of his twin brother. Kane acknowledges the sins of his past, but Kane tells Lucifer, he tells Paul Bearer, that they have reignited a fire within him that he thought to be long dead, and he has ignited a fire that Kane thought his fire could never exceed his twin brother's, but it has, and it is so ferocious, and it burns within him, and he just wants to destroy every piece of Lucifer. And he challenges Lucifer to a Monsters Ball match at WrestleMania 23, with the loser being forced to leave the WWE, as basically it would be the tagline for the match is, WWE is only big enough for one monster. And the build sees Kane playing mind games with Lucifer, messing with Lucifer, and dominating Lucifer in the mind games department. And, it'd be kind of reminiscent of Undertaker and Kane's build going into WrestleMania 14. It'd very much be a full circle event. So come WrestleMania 23, these two, give them 20 minutes to beat the piss out of each other. Kane gets bloodied up. Half of Lucifer's flipping, maybe a part of his mask gets broken, and there's blood from a chair shot. Announce tables are broken, barricades are broken. They fight backstage, they fight in the crowd. It's a brutal match, but in the end it takes a super choke slam plus a tombstone for Kane to beat Lucifer. Kane also gets his hands on Paul Bearer. I also want to point that out. He kind of has to get his hands on Paul Bearer. He choke slams Paul Bearer. And ultimately, Kane rips off Lucifer's mask, revealing a burnt, scarred, disfigured monster. But Kane, while everyone else in the crowd is disgusted at what they see, Kane shows no fear. He just sees rage in his eyes, and he choke slams Lucifer through the daggum ring. And then Kane does his pyro, and boom! A giant explosion erupts from that part of the ring. Fire is coming out of it. Kane's music is playing, and Kane is laughing hysterically like a madman. And that's the end of the story. Kane destroys his evil younger brother, and we never see Lucifer again because, there'd be no point in him showing up anymore after this. It's the perfect bookend of the storyline, and in many ways a good bookend kind of for Kane's career almost. Of course, we know he'll go on to wrestle for like a whole nother decade, but it is still a nice full circle moment with Kane ending up in the position that The Undertaker was in back going into WrestleMania 14. And this also gives the Imposter Kane an identity other than just Imposter Kane. Gives Luke Gallows more time to work into stuff. Having Paul Bearer back is, always a huge plus. And just all in all, I think it'd be a fun story that allows WWE to add even more to the mythology of Kane and The Undertaker by having there be an even more twisted evil brother than they are, that ultimately, Kane destroys once and for all. So, yeah, that's how I would have booked the Kane versus Kane story. Hope you all enjoyed it, and God bless.